So, should we break up big tech? Maybe. But what I think we should do is get our tax rates on businesses in line so that we're supporting entrepreneurship. We're supporting locally owned small businesses that will make the biggest impact on individual communities and will increase individual community autonomy. So I want to read something from the Main Street Alliance. So obviously, this is a group that is really focusing on or prioritizing the local. So there's that, but we'll keep that in mind as we're reading this. There's an NFIB study that came out in 2018, and this is what they're discussing the results of. So the NFIB and the S Corporation Association released a study examining the differences in effective tax rates paid by different kinds of business entities. In releasing the study, NFIB's CEO Dan Denner noted that the study confirms small businesses currently pay a higher effective tax rate than many large corporations. But the data in the NFIB study tells a story that runs much deeper than that headline. Main Street Alliance analysis of the NFIB's data clearly leads to the conclusion that the goal of tax reform must be to correct unfairness in the US tax code by requiring large corporations to pay their fair share. Paying their fair share, that's a judgment statement, which I don't necessarily, I just wouldn't really frame it that way. But up until that point, I agree with all of what they were saying. So there's something particular about this. Sole proprietorships. These can be, so there's sole proprietorships, there's S corporations, there's partnerships. So generally, sole proprietorships, this can be just one person. I am going through the process of getting my own sole proprietorship. And so it's just going to be me, and I'm going to be making a small amount of money through this entity. Okay, but what you can also do, and what many of the wealthiest individuals in this country that are a part of S corporations, these individuals can also have a sole proprietorship, and they call these pass-through entities. And so sole proprietorships, I'll read this part here. For businesses organized as pass-through entities, the tax code is progressive. NFIB's study shows that effective tax rates for owners of pass-through business entities, including sole proprietorships, partnerships, and S corps, which don't pay corporate income taxes, instead pass through their net income to owners' individual tax returns. And these are largely meeting the goal progressively. The wealthier the business owner, the higher the effective tax rate. However, inequities in the tax code allow the largest corporations to pay unfairly low effective tax rates. While effective tax rates for the pass-through businesses are largely progressive, effective tax rates actually decline for the largest corporations organized as C corporations. For C corporations with net assets under 25 million, effective tax rates do meet the progressivity test, with the effective rates increasing as the size of the business increases. After that, the corporate tax rate the corporate tax code becomes extremely regressive. The bigger the corporation, the lower its effective rate. With the largest corporations with net assets greater than 2.5 billion paying a bargain 15.5 rate, less than half the statutory corporate tax rate of 35%. This regressive corporate tax structure, where the large corporations pay unfairly low rates, benefits a small minority of businesses, around 4% of businesses organized as C corporations. So I think this has to be the emphasis. It's not necessarily about taking this one company and breaking it in half as much as it is to just get the tax code in line. And what is the justification for having this super low effective tax rate for the smallest corporations? I'm sure there is some. I mean, obviously, these companies are going to be able to run, well, in theory, they should be able to run more effectively. Perhaps whatever these tax savings are, they could pay higher wages. But is this happening? I'm not going to try to answer that question, but I think that's a really important question that we need to learn. Because this is what it comes down to. These companies that they're hiring hundreds of thousands of people, jobs, and this is fantastic. But a lot of these jobs are very low wage jobs. And many of these jobs, they don't even pay a living wage, an affordable wage in these places, especially Amazon. We're talking about Amazon moving into the New York City area, and any low-paying jobs in that facility, folks are going to have to commute quite a ways to get in there because they're not going to be able to afford housing on those wages anywhere near where that's setting up. And wage growth, I think I saw a statistic that it is higher. It's been higher than 2% over the year. That's fantastic. But is that keeping up with the rate of inflation? And I've also seen statistics to show that over the past 40 years, real wages, that's your wage relative to the inflation rate, these have been a total flat line. They haven't changed, while you have corporate profits at record highs. That's the stock market. That's what the stock market is measuring. How are the best companies in the United States doing? They're doing wonderfully. But real wages have remained stagnant. So maybe those savings that the biggest companies are getting are actually not translating into higher wages. So instead of the money that would be taxed, a lot of it that would go toward services for these folks who are earning the lowest wages. So maybe I'm missing something, but I think that those statistics tell us a lot about what's happening. But in a productive sense, they tell us where we should be focusing our efforts in reform.